listening to SoFloRadio.com. SoFloRadio.com presents CEOmanship, becoming a leader in today's business world, with your host, Steve Gordon, CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, an international business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit GordonPartnershipGroup.com. Gordon Partnership Group. Your success is our business. And now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
Aloha, George. How are you?
Hey, Steve. Doing great.
Wow. Here we are. Another beautiful day. Well, sort of another beautiful day. It's kind of cloudy here.
It looks beautiful from here.
Well, it is. It's always beautiful in Maui, which is where we're coming to you from. My name is Steve Gordon, and I am the CEO of the Gordon Partnership Group. And you can find us on Facebook under Gordon Partnership. Gordon Partnership on Instagram. Follow Steve Gord. They couldn't give me enough letters, so it's just follow Steve Gord on Twitter. And of course, if you want to contact us directly, you can contact us at GordonPartnership.com. If you have a suggestion for a show topic, a question, maybe you know somebody who would make a great guest, or maybe you just want to request sales training for your personal benefit or for your corporation. Anyway, once again, my name is Steve Gordon, and today, George, we have a guest with us, and I'll give him a formal introduction in a minute, but he's coming to us from California, and of course, you're in Florida, so we've got Jared King in Sacramento, California, and then we've got you right there in Hollywood, Florida.
In Hollywood, yeah. It's amazing what we can do with technology these days.
It is pretty great. You know, here we are, and really, it's like we've got the whole country, right? You got all 6 hours apart, and Jared in the middle, 3 hours apart. Jared's got a great story, and we're going to give him a formal introduction in a second. But he is a true entrepreneur in every sense of entrepreneurialism, and I love what he's doing, and I know you're going to, because if I recall, you are someone who loves card games and board games, right?
Yeah, all of the above, but we were talking about card games, and a lot of people don't know, if they're beyond a certain age, that there are collectible card games now. Somebody had the great idea to combine card games and card collecting, so where you could play a game with cards that you collect to increase the value of the collectible cards, as if they weren't, already valuable enough. The effect that they have on gameplay increases their value. So,
well, it's interesting because I think about the number of cards. Of course, I'm referring to baseball cards, but the number of cards that I put in the spokes of my bicycle as like a 10-year-old, and I probably had like an original Honus Wagner or something, and now it's just who knows where.
You traded cards, then you traded the baseball cards with your friends, and the ball players had statistics on them, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine if there was a game where you played, like a fantasy baseball type of thing, where the team that you were able to field was basically the cards that you had, and the performance of your deck, the deck that you assembled, was based on the readout on the card. So you could play a virtual baseball game with the collectible baseball cards that you had. That's what these games are all about. It's like that.
Well, I think that you're going to love, as will our audience, not only the introduction of this card game, but really I want to dive in a couple of seconds with Jared, because this is a process, right? Jared took this game from conception and now to launch, but before we do that, I just I was online the other day. I just wanted to remember this, and I was listening to some music. A woman named, I have to pronounce this right, Ruta Statkevichute, right?
Yeah.
And you can find her on YouTube. It's spelled Ruta is her first name, and it's Statkeviciute. Ruta Statkevichute, right? But she has a couple of really nice songs, and I thought, just for a split second, I know I shared that with you this morning. I would love to share this with our audience, because we love to give new people who are starting out in business an opportunity to be exposed through our show. And so I don't know if you could find that real quickly, but I know she has a song called Silence
that we're playing in the background right now. Yeah, while I
There you
show
go.
a little slideshow of the beautiful. You say her name.
Ruta Statkeviciute.
Okay. I as her professional consultant, I'm going to recommend a name change. But she's a beautiful lady, as the slideshow is bearing out. And these are good songs. We're going to end the show with one of her other songs.
So that was Silence by Ruta Statkeviciute, and we're going to hear a little bit more from Ruta later on in the show. But I want to formally introduce Jared King, and Jared is awesome. We're so fortunate to have Jared. Thank you for making time to join us today. So you're originally from, I guess, Utah, right? And then you moved to California, where you currently live in Sacramento.
Yeah, that's right. Grew up, born and raised in Orem, Utah, and my wife lived in California for most of her life, and she moved to Utah. We met, got married, and ended up migrating back here to Sacramento, where her family is. So been here for about 16 years now, so it's been fun.
Well, that's great. You know, I like that part of California myself. It's a beautiful part of the country. So you are, like I am, I guess my wife would say I'm a geek. I have a degree in computer programming, and it says that in here that I did the research and that you're a computer programmer by trade, and also a degree in web design. And yet you're working in a dental office by day. How did that happen?
You know, it's definitely not by design. Went to computer programming thinking I'd get in the corporate world and, be the next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, like everybody dreams of. But we moved to California, and what's interesting is I started my first day on a job in California, and got a phone call from my father-in-law, who asked me to come work in the dental field at his dental practice, to basically bring it up to the 21st century. They were doing a lot of old school things, and they needed technology. They didn't have anything on the internet. Computers were very, basically they were still using DOS computers.
Wow.
And this was, in the early 2000s. So you can imagine, things were a little behind. So he asked that I come in and kind of transform things and get things back up to speed. And that's what we've done.
And so you're as an entrepreneur, we're going to get to that in a minute. I know that when I was started out, I was also programming, and I thought to myself, I can't, I got to be out there. I've got to be meeting people. My brain was always going, and I assume you're the same way. You're kind of that out of the box thinker, I guess. So you also own a web design company and a software company. So when do you have time to sleep?
My wife asked me the same question, because I'm usually not in bed very much. It's been a roller coaster. I'm definitely, when I went into computer programming, I think it was more of learning the back end and how things worked, because I'm definitely not the type of person to sit down and do code for 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I like to be the one to tell the programmers what to do, and think outside the box and get things built. That's really where I shine, and really what my passion is putting things together, and then having those who are really good at it and who love to sit in front of a computer for 12 hours at a time, let them do the programming, and I handle the other things. So it's worked out well.
Well, yeah, it's that leadership role, right? So
yep.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and you have a product that well, let me go backwards. I know that you were working on, I guess, what you referred to as a relationship app. Would that be a dating app, or what was the premise of that app?
It's interesting. No, not a dating app. More of a relationship app dealing with what originally started with couples. And we took the Brownie Points philosophy, because you hear the term, you earn brownie points all the time. And what's funny is it kind of originated from a friend of mine just talking on the phone over a weekend, what we did. And I mentioned to him that, my wife told me I earned brownie points over the weekend for doing something fun. And it turned into, at the end of our 2-hour conversation, an app to where how could we use brownie points to, build a relationship and actually give points and cash in points for what you've actually, earned or whatnot. So
I love it.
That's kind of how the philosophy came about, the relationship app. And then with that, we've turned it into including kids as well. So they make their bed, they do their chores, they can earn points as well, or get them taken away, vice versa. So it's actually a pretty cool concept, and we hope to, launch it out soon.
And so that was the genesis then of your card game, which is also titled Brownie Points.
That's right.
What a fun game. You know what? I like to think I'm, pretty darn good husband, but wow, I need the Brownie Points game. I'm gonna, like typical husbands, I'll be like cashing them in like crazy. Honey, I took out the garbage. Honey, I did this.
Well, what's funny is we gave the wife the power to throw you into the doghouse. So we got a lot of fun elements in there that really relate to a relationship, and we built that into this card game. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess you start with this idea of the app, and then you realize that, okay, I have this card game. What, in a world where everything is like right here in our hand, right?
Yep.
What made you say, you know what, let's go back to like something like paper that I can hold in my hand, like a product that isn't electronic.
Right. And, with my background, I've kind of shocked a few people, saying, hey, I came out with a card game because of my background in my abilities with computers. But that didn't stop me from thinking outside the box. I do have a card game, and it developed through, just a sporadic conversation of, there's got to be more to this. There's something else that we can do to this that we're just not thinking about. And so the card game kind of came to play. But with that, with my techie side and my side to put things into the phone, we came up with the Brownie Points scorecard. And you get rid of the pen and paper, and now you have a digital scorecard that keeps track of your friends, your family, everybody worldwide, and you have a leaderboard to compete against each other. So I went back to paper, so to speak, but I stayed to my roots a little bit and still implemented a social aspect to it, and with an app that really intertwines basically anybody you want to around the world. So it's pretty cool.
George, I saw you when he talked about a competitive sort of worldwide leaderboard. I saw you sort of just snap your head back, and what were you thinking?
Oh, I'm not a competitive kind of guy. I'm trying to play that. But we do like to see how well we can play. And a lot of these games that that I was talking about, before and during the show, talking about playing, they have an online version, if not an app version. I mean, look at the Pokemon, for example, was a collectible card game, and then they the app kind of changed everything, with the Pokemon Go and people trespassing and getting kidnapped and taken hostage and things like that. So sure, the everything in our hand thing has just created an added element that you can incorporate into the card game concept.
Well, what I think is really brilliant, Jared, is that you've given folks all different senses, right? And so you've got the family sitting around the table, but you also have this that you can monetize in another way through the app. And I'm sure that there are things that you have in the back of your mind and in your business plan that would allow you to monetize. I mean, I read somewhere that Pokemon Go generates some ridiculous number, like in the millions every minute now worldwide. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, and it's, what differentiates us a little bit right now is, yes, the Brownie Points card game will eventually be, an app that you can play online, like a Pokemon. The scorecard, it's basically just to keep track of your points. And, as you're sitting around a table playing with your family and friends, everybody syncs up to the same game. There's a code that goes out, you sync it up. And as you're punching in your score for your game that you're playing right now, it updates live so that your leaderboard is constantly changing. And when the game's over, you hit submit, it disperses everybody's points into their big bank account. And then that's when it goes to the worldwide leaderboard. And so as you're playing, you're syncing back and forth and seeing what's going on. And then, yes, in the future, part of our business plan is to get the game itself online and do things. But right now, we really want to focus on getting groups together and seeing how this goes.
Well, I know that I was reading that you did a focus group with your own family, and that's kind of how this happened. How long was this process in terms of, like, from the day you had that aha moment to where you are now? And I do want to let our folks know, before you answer that question, that you are approximately 2 weeks away from a Kickstarter campaign, and we're going to talk more about that. But if you love this idea as much as I do, George, we're going to have a chance to participate.
I don't know if I love it yet. See, I'm a radio veteran. This is the part of the radio interview where the producer or the host says, "Yeah, I don't know about this thing," and then the guest says, "Well, I'm going to send you a sample deck or something, so that you can share it with your cadre of geeks and your geeky family, and turn everyone in South Florida onto it." That's what's going to happen here.
George, they outlawed payola a long time ago in radio.
And let me correct you on that. Payola is illegal when you don't run it through management. It's because you're stealing from the company when DJs take bribes under the table. I, of course, am the company, so I can receive payola.
So John,
That's
great. You send me $35 and I'll be more than happy to send you the game.
Oh, I think you met your match, George. And so Chad, how long was this process?
Actually, it's actually been pretty quick. It's only been about 4 to 5 months from the time I came home and told my wife we're not leaving here until we have our game concept ready to go, to where we're at today. So for a lot of people, it may take them a couple of years. Like in the app part of the relationship, it's been 3 years since we started that, and we're still going. Towards this, we're launching in 2 weeks, like you said, and it's only been 4 to 5 months. So it's actually come really quick. And that's what I love about this is the design, the aspect of the game really came through really fast. And I have to credit that to all the people that we had test the game, give their input. We really took it to heart, what they were saying, good or bad, I welcome it all. And that's really how it came to be. And so it is a little quicker than I thought in that regard, but then again, it can't come fast enough. I'm really excited about what we have going on here. And I know from our test groups that we have had, they're really excited and can't wait for it to come out.
So since the majority of our listening audience are small business owners or those who choose to, maybe want to pursue going into business on their own, can you walk us through that process of, okay, now you had the idea, you sat around the table, you go home to your wife, you go, we're not going to sleep until we get this this concept hammered out, so to say. All right, so now you've gotten through like the first 24 or 48 hours, even though the relationship app you said was a long time in the making. Mm-hmm. So take us, if you will, the next step, right? From that next morning where you didn't sleep, and you go, okay, now what do you do? How do you get the demo product? How do you go finding partners? Mm-hmm. All of that.
Well, so what's interesting is, that next day, I basically created cards in Photoshop and printed them off on my home computer and cut them out, and we just started playing with cards that were just printed up from my printer, so that we can now get a feel for what we've done so far. I didn't want to wait for a printing press or anything like that. I wanted to get this going right now, and how I could start tweaking this immediately. That's the thing, is I didn't sleep for probably a couple weeks, not just the first night, because I was so jazzed about what we had. And I knew that the fine tuning process was going to take a little bit of time. And that's where I decided to bring in a couple of people. where I think it's important that people understand is when you're starting a company or you're starting a new product, you got to bring in people who know things that you don't. They can kind of pick up the slack where you may lag a little bit. And that's what I did is on all these focus groups and people that I brought in, it was so that I could learn from them, so that I could gain extra knowledge that they had in certain areas that I knew they were extremely strong in and I was weak. And so I surrounded myself with a great core of people who I knew would give me honest feedback with what we were doing, but also, pick up the slack where I lagged a little bit. And, and that goes to anything that you do in business. You can never do anything yourself. You got to surround yourself with good people. And that was really important to making it successful, like what we've done.
Well, and the other thing is that you said earlier that you were very open to feedback. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk. Just listening to one of his video broadcasts this morning, and he was talking about the fact that if you really want to grow, you really need to make sure that you listen and take feedback, positive, negative. Otherwise, because your friends and family at first, they don't necessarily want to tell you. They want to tell you what you want to hear, not necessarily what you need to hear. And you have to get people to that point where they're comfortable enough with you that they go, okay, here's what, I don't like this. This isn't going to work. Here's why I feel that way. And then you go, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. Speaking of drawing board, so now, George, I don't know if you have any images.
A drawing board?
of the card game itself. But I'm wondering how many iterations you had to go through on the different characters. And,
well, what's funny is the characters themselves, we've gone through about 2 or 3 different variations to get our Brownie character just right. Because, he tells the story, and that's how it started with our relationship app is, we started with our character. And we've gone through a couple of different versions. What's great about this is not only have we done just our normal character, in our family edition deck, but we've brought in a brand new Brownie superheroes. And that has brought in a whole new element of characters with our Brownies. And we've even done some mock drawings of superheroes of, like Captain America and Incredible Hulk and stuff into our Brownie character. And it's just awesome. And because we're trying to really adapt to the gamers outside of there who, love the superheroes and part of our business plan is in that growth, is tapping into that, superheroes, but we want to create our own characters. And so we've gone through about, 3 or 4 different character designs till we got it just right. And we've gone through about 12, I think I'm on number 12 card designs that we've gone through before we've gotten it just right to what we like now. And that was all based off of getting people's feedback, even in the card design, what was good, what was bad. And people gave us that feedback. What's great is part of the card design and 2 parts of the elements of our game, came from, those groups that we had play the game. And so without those, we'd be missing that element. So it's very important to have those.
I'm thinking even things as simple as the size of the card, right? For young hands versus adult hands, texture, thickness, all of this, a lot goes in. So I know we're talking about this game. Let me ask you then, if you had to sort of explain how the game worked, and I know that I know there's a video on your website, by the way. If somebody wanted to watch that video to get a better feel for how the game works, where would they go?
Right now, they can just go to browniepointscardgame.com, and we'll have some links there that they can attach to that video. We're also going to be posting it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/browniepointscardgame. And on there as well, we're going to start releasing our Brownie Heroes characters for people to start seeing what they look like. And so they can find all the information there.
That's great. So if you were to sort of broad stroke, I know we've talked about the relationship, but if you had to describe the game to our listeners and how it works, how would you describe that?
The best way of describing it is, it's one of those games that is very fast, and you have to really pay attention. That's what I wanted is something. The hard part with me is my attention span sometimes isn't the greatest. So when I'm playing a game and there's 10 of us playing and you have to take turns and it's not 20 minutes until my next turn, I kind of doze off and I kind of forget about what's going on. With Brownie Points, basically every hand you got to pay attention to. Somebody will play down a single card or a set of cards, and you have to beat that set. And yes, you still do the standard going around taking turns, but the key element to this is what we call the Brownie Point slap attack, and that's where you smack the table and yell out brownie points, and you can steal the pile. And anybody can do it out of turn anytime. And if you have the exact same cards that were laid down, you can do the Brownie Point slap attack and steal the pile. So there really is an element of, at every moment, you got to know what cards are being played, what's in your hand, because your hand is always changing. That's the other thing, is I don't like cards when you're dealt something, you're stuck. You can't get a better hand. With this, you're constantly drawing, you're constantly changing hands with different cards, and you're constantly winning back and forth. And so it's one of those group games that everybody's involved the entire time. There's no dull moments. There's nobody who's out of the game. And even if you lose a couple of rounds, because of the Brownie Point slap attack, you can be right back in it in a matter of 2 seconds. You're back in the game. So it's one of those games that is fast paced. You got to pay attention to, what's being played. But you don't necessarily have to have, all the knowledge of gameplay. You don't have to be really good at it. Anybody can play. And we've tested that. We've had kids play from, 6 to 7 years old. And we've had adults play all the way up to 70 years old. And everybody can grasp the concept and play the game, and everybody has a chance. So it's one of those things that if you like to play a fast-paced game, it gets very competitive. I must say, you tick off a lot of people, especially when you lay down the doghouse card, which makes it to where you have to steal everybody's highest card.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's one of those that you get a little upset, you get some tensions flaring, and it's a lot of fun.
In a world where everybody under the age of like 50 is doing this constantly, I'm so thrilled personally, on a personal level, that you brought something back. I think back on my childhood, when I was talking to my wife earlier last night and today, I was telling her about you and today's interview and what you were doing. And the two of us sat back and we reminisced of days when we were growing up. Like, there was always a jigsaw puzzle on a table in my house. And, we would sit as a family. There was always a board game going on in our house. Scrabble, Monopoly, something where we sat as a family. It amazes me, Jared, when living here on Maui, right? I see this is the most visited island in the world. And I see families that probably saved up for a year to come here, and they're sitting at a beautiful restaurant, and everybody is at their head down, no communication. And I just commend you on a personal level for bringing something so wonderful back to families. And the more we converse, the more I'm getting excited to play. And I really love the idea, because I am competitive, and I love the idea that anybody can win, and that so I'm looking forward to getting my copy as well. Anyway, we're going to be back in a second. This is Steve Gordon. You're listening to CEOmanship Radio and TV on SoFloRadio.com.
More CEOmanship with Steve Gordon next on SoFloRadio.com.
Put a team of professional consultants behind your home or business computer with Key Information Solutions, providing solutions to your internet and computing needs while keeping you on the cutting edge of technology. Preventative maintenance and networking support, hardware and custom-built computers. Let Key Information Solutions be your personal tech staff for your home or office with affordable hourly, monthly, or annual rates to fit anyone's budget. Call Key Information Solutions now, 954-973-3374. That's 954-973-3374. Or visit keyinformation.com.
Strawberry patches, smoothie.
Get your hands off me!
Huh?
I said don't touch me! I shouldn't have went to that party last night. Now I'm seeing talking fruit.
You're not dreaming, Bubba, and you're not putting me in that blender.
But you're just a fruit.
Who you calling a fruit?
You are. You're a delicious passion fruit.
Why, sure, I'm passionate. How would you like to be blended, huh? I got right, you know.
Customers waiting. You gotta go.
Yeah, but wait, you can...
At Power Smoothie in Aventura, we show fruit no mercy. Always fresh, always delicious. To make the best smoothies and wraps on earth, try our new cilantro lime-alicious wrap or our hot chipotle chicken. Power Smoothie in Aventura, located just north of the Aventura Mall in the Promenade Shops. Or call 305-792-5338. Open 7 days a week.
The most important online
See?
radio station.
It's easier than ever to listen to SoFlo. On the air and everywhere. On any computer, any mobile device, iPhone, iTouch, and anywhere you are, just hit SoFloRadio.com. Tell your friends about South Florida's radio network, SoFloRadio.com.
Now, back to CEOmanship with Steve Gordon on SoFloRadio.com.
Are back. I'm back with Jared King from Sacramento, California. Jared joins us today and is the founder, the creator of an amazing board game, or card game, I'm sorry, called Brownie Points. And right before the break, we were talking about the fact that, you know, today families and kids seem so disjointed and so disconnected in so many ways. It's really a shame. And we were talking about the fact that as kids, we grew up, at least I did, with board games and card games and thinking games and things to make us communicate and be in the moment with our family. I'm guessing you probably grew up the same way. Is that probably the case? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, cell phones and all that technology just wasn't around. So, you know, a good 4-hour game of Monopoly was what we did.
Well, it's nice to see again, sticking with the family theme and just something that's wholesome and some. Now, will there be versions that are for kids? Another version that might be for adults. I'm not saying an adult theme, but something like that. Is that sort of the long-term play?
Yeah. So, sticking with the family, in our house now, my wife and I really strive and to do things as a family. We're very family oriented. And so, playing games on the weekends is extremely important. Our kids are a little older now. But we remember the days back when young kids, and it's hard to play a game and keep them entertained. And so there are times where we drop the cell phone and we break out a good game, and that's why this all stemmed from here. And so we wanted to accommodate pretty much all age groups. So we will have a kid version, from 6 to 12, and then the regular version is 12 on up, and that's really tailored to where. I hated it as a kid when my parents would play a game and I couldn't play. It's for 12 and up and I'm 10 years old and I can't play. So we really wanted to bring in the kids aspect to it. And because of our characters, the kids love our characters. We really wanted to make it for them. So we've made a version for them that still follows the Brownie Points philosophy, but we've scaled it back just a little bit to make it a little easier for them to understand. And once they grasp that game, they're ready to go on the main version. And so, yeah, we really tailor this to an entire family, regardless of age group. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. George, I don't know if you have been, because I can't see your screen, but if not, if you want to just push up some images from time to time of the card game and the box, that would be great.
I have been throughout the conversation. And
thank you.
Obviously you can't see that, but the audience has been, and you will when you watch the show later on. I have a question, though, if I can jump in, because we were talking about the collectible card games, and I want to know, is this a self-contained game like Uno, or is it expandable where you can buy more cards later? You're going to come out with expansions, if you will, that you can add to the game.
Yeah, so the main full version of the deck is, a standalone deck, kind of like an Uno deck. However, there are expansion decks that you can buy so that you can add people, to the game and play with 12, 15, 20 people if you want to. And you also have the ability to get different expansion decks, just based on preference. You can add them to any full deck that you want to. So you can really intermix, and the idea is to add them on to expand your group. It's a great group game. And if you want to intertwine some of the cards, take out some of the main ones and throw in the expansion deck, that's fine too. We really give you the freedom to do what you want to. But we've got the expansion deck so that you can continue to grow the game, and also, have different versions on hand for the type of crowd that you're playing with.
Now, the expansions, do they incorporate different cards and or different themes besides what you get with the basic game?
So we will be coming out with different themes. Right now we have the Brownie Hero theme. That's our main expansion deck right now. But yes, if you get the expansion deck, there is a key element in that game that is only for the expansion deck, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to keep that a little secret for right now. But it does add a different element to the game that you can't get in the regular edition. So yeah, we want to add a little surprise to it. So when you do get the expansion deck, there is a little bit different element to the game, a little more of a surprise.
And the expansions are more than just flavor, or they're actually like gameplay. The expansions have different gameplay mechanisms in them.
Yeah, so the expansions just go right along with the full deck, but some of the cards in it act a little differently.
Okay.
So it changes the element of the game based on how you would play with just the regular full edition.
Can people build their own decks, or is it kind of a single deck and you shuffle out the cards, that kind of thing, or do people build and bring their own kind of deck?
No, it's more of just, pull out a deck and you shuffle and you go ahead and play, like a standard deck. We thought about bringing in that type of element, but I didn't want to add the confusion to it. I just wanted to make this more back to simplicity and, back to the good old days of just a good old card game.
And nothing wrong. No, Uno is great fun, but don't play it with anyone you love.
Well, if that's the case with Uno, Brownie Points is going to kill you.
Well, that's all. I used to say that about Pinochle. Don't partner with your spouse or your best friend if you want them to continue being your spouse or your best friend.
Especially with the scorecard, things get a little heated when the scores come out. So you got to be careful.
Is there a like something that you shout out, like Uno or Bingo or something like that in the Brownie Points game?
Well, the Brownie Point slap attack is basically what's being yelled out all the time.
All right.
And so that's going on about 20 times around. So yeah, things get shout out, but other words get shout out as well once things get a little heated.
I'm gonna incorporate the slap attack into my my real outside the game life. All right, that's what I had, Steve. You can go back to hosting the show now.
So thank you. Those are good questions, George. So from the business standpoint, what are your takeaways? What if I say, like, these are my aha moments? What did you learn sort of throughout this development process into where we are now at just about launch?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is extreme patience. Not everything goes your way, and there's some things that get delayed that are out of your control, like with anything in business. When you're really trying to fine tune something like a card game or any product that you're trying to bring to launch, and figuring out something as simple as drawing your characters. I've gone through 4 character graphic designers to get the right one. I've gone through 4 printing manufacturers to make sure I can get the card printed in the quality that I want, the box made to the quality that I want. That's another element of this game is I'm not after doing something that, is a typical, game where you get it and it's in a cheap box that tears the first time you open it up. The instructions are bent or, you can't read them. The box that it comes in is a high quality box. It's a shoebox styled where it comes off the top. So it won't rip, it won't bend. The cards are one of the highest quality cards that you'll find even in casinos in Vegas. I didn't want something that was, $5.99 and it ripped the next day. This is really a card that, you're going to pay for a quality item and it's going to last you a long time. And frankly, because of the beating it takes, I had to make it high quality. Otherwise, these cards are not going to last.
It's interesting. And you know what? I'm a big believer in you get what you pay for, right? And if this is a game that's going to be in your family for a long time and not something that gets opened up on Christmas morning and then by Christmas Day or New Year's Day it's destroyed, then I mean think about the cost of things right now and things we pay for. This is certainly, I agree with you. I'd rather spend a few extra bucks. Do you have an idea of a price point yet? Or am I putting you on the spot?
No. Yeah, our price on Kickstarter right now is going to launch at $35 for the main deck. The expansion packs are about $20. And, I really looked into this, based on price points. I talked to a lot of people. I looked at other popular games that were selling. And, a lot of games that, hold 56 cards were selling for $25, $30 and coming in a crappy box. One thing that you have to understand with our deck is, it's 114 cards. So it's basically double the size of a normal deck, which means the box is bigger. There's a lot more of everything. And so we came out with the 35 price range, which we feel is extremely fair for the quality that you're getting, to make sure that we don't skimp out on quality just for cost. I really want people to have a quality item. And yeah, I want this game to last them a long time. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, that's great. And now going through this process, is there anything that you look back on and say, wow, I wish I had done something differently in maybe save some time or anything at all? Or you're smiling. I guess is that a whole other show?
For me, I'm very picky on a lot of things. And so I tend to nitpick on things I shouldn't. And so I think for me, just realizing that, what we have right now is perfect, and let's move forward instead of nitpicking it, making it, drag on a little bit longer. But you know what? The process and the people I've surrounded myself with has gone really smooth, and there's not really a whole lot that I'd go back and say, I wish I would have done that or this. And I don't live my life that way either. I get what I put through every day, and the results are what they are, and I live with that. And I'm really happy with the product that we have, the stage that we've come to this point, and that's how I'll rock and roll with it.
Well, so let's talk about Kickstarter. You just mentioned Kickstarter, and for those who may not be aware, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding application where you can invest in a startup company like Jared's and Brownie Points, and so. But this is really, I did a little research before our show, and in terms of dollars invested, games are the number one amount for everything. So you've got technology, films, video, music, publishing, fashion, food, art, comics, theater, and it goes on and on and on and on. But the number one dollar for dollar in terms of investment on Kickstarter is games, which is really, really interesting. And we're not talking about electronics. We're talking about just games.
Yes, just games. And that really kind of shows you, people really love the game element. They love getting the product and doing, there's a huge following for games, and it shows on Kickstarter. And so we really want to tap into that market. That's why I went with our relationship app that we were developing. We knew we needed to hit other elements. And that's why we love the fact that once we came up with this, we knew we could target a whole other element of business that we just didn't have before. And, we're happy to be on Kickstarter. I think it's an avenue that will do very well for us. It's one of those that you can invest and help, bring a product to fruition. But it's also, you get what you invest in. So, you invest $35 in my Kickstarter, and I send you the game. You don't walk away with nothing. You walk away with the physical product and in your hand. And so it's a cool platform that really allows people to be on the ground floor of these great opportunities. Be the first to have it in their hands before it hits, an Amazon or anything bigger like that. So it's a cool platform, and we're happy to be on it.
And so let's talk with our audience a little bit about, or maybe share with the audience, how that would all work. How do you come up with the idea of what how you do it, what you give, what you're requesting, how much you're trying to raise? This is your time. So in addition to answering those questions, feel free to explain to the audience why they would want to invest in this project.
Yeah, sure. the pledges that we came up with, I really wanted something to match all price levels for people, and also get them, the product they want. And so we thought a lot about it. We thought a lot about what we should offer. It's simple to say, hey, let's just offer one pledge for $35 and run with it. But I know a lot of people want more than that. And one of the pledges that we came up with is called the Legends expansion deck. And that allows you as the consumer to basically be in our game. If you happen to pick up one of those packages, you send us a photo of yourself and we will draw you as one of our heroes and put you in the expansion deck. And so coming up with creative ideas like that to really involve the community in our game. We want this to be a community effort, and that's why we chose Kickstarter, because we think that once people watch our videos, see how to play, and see the excitement that people have when they play this game, they're really going to love it. And Kickstarter allows us to bring that community back together, and we want to share that with them and allowing them to be in the element of our game with the Legends deck, which is going to be really cool. So we came up with those price points, so we could tailor anybody, whether you have a little bit to invest in or a lot, we have that for you. And like we talked about before, our game and our platform is all about family. Our Brownie Points system is all about family. The characters that you've seen probably on your screen, you'll see that they're doing, they're making their bed, or they're washing the car, they're doing chores, they're doing things for each other. And, in our card, we call it, you're earning points. Even though it's a card game, you're still earning points, and we document those points. And it's something to kind of just bring back into the family of, to do good for each other. You can be rewarded for it. It's a lot of fun. And that really comes across in our character and what we stand by in being a really wholesome family game.
So I'm curious. I was looking at the cards, and I was looking at the different points. How do you determine what's more important in terms of earning brownie points, right? It's like, is washing dishes more important, or gives you more points than making your bed?
Yeah, if you notice, I made sure to put things that my wife does at the top of the list. I didn't want to discount any of that. So no, actually, I did think about that, and I didn't want it to come out that way. So I basically drew it from a hat, essentially. I didn't want people to think that, washing dishes is more important than making my bed or anything like that. It was just something that I just put the points to it. I didn't really want to think that way, because everybody is different. Some people love doing dishes and hate making their bed, and vice versa. So there was a big thought process into it, but at the end, drew it out of a hat, and that's what it is.
And here I am thinking there's this whole science, and you're out of think tank in, and you're like, okay, we're going to do beta testing, and
for the card game, no, but for our relationship app, yes, that's definitely been tested, and that will reflect more points in the app. Yes.
Interesting. So, all right. So somebody comes on, and George, now I understand that you would like to be a character on a card, because you are a character
absolutely.
in my studio.
Oh, I'm a character and a card, in case you didn't know.
Oh my goodness. Oh, George, good thing you have this station.
I have another question. I thought I was done, but I don't. Do you anticipate an app-based or online version of this game so that we can play it while ignoring our families?
Absolutely. Why not? If you're going to ignore your family, you might as well play Brownie Points and earn some points. So, yes, in the future, probably in a year or two after this game is launched and we're able to expand on our elements, yes, there will be an app version of this game online. Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. That's what I had, Steve.
Thank you for.
You want to invest in a Kickstarter program that has a future, and in the future there won't be any paper. It'll just be this thing. So we'll have our.
That's right.
This will be the cards. You can deal it out. The app will deal the cards right, and you have.
It will right actually.
Sure. Yeah.
You're getting ahead of the game here. I'm going to go into stuff that I can't release yet.
I feel like we're thinking like Las Vegas, like where the cards get dealt out. But so let me ask you. You said in the future, George. So Jared, where do you see this game? Let's take it 5 years down, right? Because obviously this is not a one and done. I can tell you're thinking. Where would you like to see, Brownie Points 5 years from now?
For the card game itself, I see this game really being in millions of people's homes and within a couple of years. the great thing that we have going on is our Brownie Points brand, from our characters, even into our cards, we really built in our characters. And, 5 years from now, I see, a lot of stuffed animals coming your way. I see, cartoons with our figurines coming in, that could be on, TV shows and whatnot. I see a lot built into our characters. And all of that will still go around our philosophy of families and earning points for each other, doing good. That's really what we want to bring across. So, through all the elements in 5 years from now, that's why I'm excited about the future. There's a lot that we have planned. Just on the game side, yes. On the relationship app, yes. But also things that we haven't even tapped into yet. Like the clothing lines and the stuffed animals and possibly even the cartoon television shows.
George, you heard it first.
Yep. Get in on it.
I love it. So Chad, what would be your number one goal from the launch? What's the first thing you want everybody to know that's going to come out of this?
The first thing that I want people to know, just the awareness of the game and our philosophy and what, we're after. A lot of times we see card games go on and you have to close your kids' eyes just to look at the images. It's not a family friendly. And so I want people to be aware that there are folks out there who still have family in mind and are creating things, intended for that. Obviously, it's really important that we, get funded because that's the only way that we can get this into people's houses and get them to enjoy the game. So, getting the awareness out there and getting people to talk about it and getting this thing funded so that they can enjoy it as much as we have. I tell you, our Brownie Points card game, it sits on the table 24/7. We don't move it. We're always ready to play. We always get going. It's one of those games that really, as a family and as, with friends and whatnot, it's a great game. It brings people together and we couldn't do something without adding brownies to the mix.
Brownie mix.
A lot of people ask us about brownies and whatnot. So we've actually come up with a pretty cool recipe for brownies that people will get as a bonus when they order from Kickstarter. And I tell you what, once you have these, you're never going to go back.
Well, that's great. So how much are you trying to raise? What's your target? What's your goal?
Our target goal is 10,000, which I think we can reach pretty quickly. We wanted to make it to where this gets funded really fast so that people can get going on this. Obviously, I see this going a lot higher. And we didn't want something, outrageously high, like $100,000 that, nobody could have this unless we raised all this money. What we did is we had a lot of calculations on, what's the minimum that we could raise to get this in people's houses without taking a loss. And so we came up with the 10,000 and that will get people started and get this in people's homes relatively quick. I've been working with manufacturers, which a lot of times people don't do. They'll launch their product without really doing their homework on what it's going to take to get it out there. Our manufacturers are all ready to go. I actually received a shipment today on my first demo cards that showed up to ensure that the packaging and everything's, ready to go. So I'm hoping once this ends, you guys will start seeing cards show up on your doorstep in December in time for Christmas.
So is the intent of the Kickstarter, that $10,000, is it to help to get the game out, or is it to be used for production, or both?
Both. We're using it for both platforms. One was, the reach of people to have this be a real community thing that we can reach out to people and get them involved. The more they're involved with it, if they invest in the game, we know they're going to be invested in us and what we do. And then also to raise the money, have the platform to where we can raise the money to get the manufacturing. As those who have manufactured, that it's all based on volume. If we only sell 5 of these things, it's going to cost $100 a deck just to get it out the front door. But if we can sell, 10,000, 20,000 decks, that's where, it brings the price down, cost down, and that's where we can make it affordable for everybody and really get them, the deck to their house quickly.
Well, that's great. And I love the idea that we're going to get it out before Christmas. Obviously, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Before we kind of turn the final corner into the final lap, just because everybody here, we want to keep a little secret just to our listeners, right? Mm-hmm. So if you could give us a couple of strategies and tips that we won't tell anybody else, right? But that's the positive side. So you've been doing this for a little while. It's your game. You got to know the inside scoop.
Well, that's the fun part is when I'm playing with my family, we all kind of know the inside scoop. And so we can really get on each other's nerves. But yeah, I'll be happy to share with you guys. One of the best tricks that I've learned is when you're holding your cards and you've got multiple sets in your hand, play the lower one first to egg people on to play. And once they play your higher set, brownie point slap attack it and win the pile, and you kind of stump them because you kind of egged them on with a lower end card, and you come in with a higher end and you take it. The best is when you got a run of 4 or 5 cards and you do the same thing. Hold on to those cards. Don't be eager to play them quick. Even if a brownie point slap attack comes available, hold on to them and wait for that wild card to pop up, and then you'll be happy you did.
And the doghouse. What's with the doghouse?
So this is really kind of what stemmed the game itself, is the doghouse, in our app. You always hear all the time, us husbands, guys, we screw up all the time, and you get thrown in the doghouse. And so we really wanted to bring this element to the game. So this doghouse card, it can be played on your turn. And once played, every other player's got to give you their highest card. So it's kind of like, hey, I threw you in the doghouse. Now you got to pay for it. And so you're handed all these high cards in your hand, which now you can play and start winning the hand very quickly. So it's one of those cards that changes the element of the game immediately for those who get it. But there's a couple of times where if you get it at the end of the game, you're stuck with all those cards in your hand, and they turn out to be a bad thing, negative points. So it's one of those strategic things that it can really help you and really hurt you. But it's a fun element of the game that, once you put that card down and you yell out doghouse, everybody kind of moans and groans and throws you the card. Sometimes you got to put up your hand as the cards are coming flying at you, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great element to the game, and people will enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome. Jared King, you're awesome. You've come up with a great game, and I'm excited for you. And this is something that I hope not only will you succeed and hit your goal on Kickstarter, and I hope you go way past it. I think you will. I see thousands and thousands and hopefully millions of families playing this game sometime over the holidays, Hanukkah, Christmas this year, and sharing and bringing families back together. And that's a beautiful thing. Jared, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I wanted to do something special for your listeners. So if you text the word CEOmanship to 44222, you'll be added to my VIP list, and once I launch, I'll give you the heads up, and you'll get $10 off your order. Wow.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who are watching this today, feel free to share this with your friends on your social media.
Absolutely.
Let's help another entrepreneur out. Let's all pitch in, do the right thing, because that's what we do. That's all about entrepreneurialism. And George,
Steve,
we're coming to that point.
Yes, we are. Is that 44222?
Yes.
So those are the numbers you put, George, instead of the phone number. And then right. You, in the message of the text, you just write the word CEOmanship. And so, yep. Jared, thank you. Thank you for joining us today from your home in Sacramento, California. Continued success. I know this is going to be a win. I can feel it already. I hope that our listeners will continue to share this information. Again, you could reach me, Steve Gordon, at GordonPartnership.com, Gordon Partnership on Facebook, Gordon Partnership on Instagram, and follow Steve Gord, G-O-R-D, on Twitter. Hopefully we'll be out with a little more music from our friend Ruta Statkevichute, and
bringing her up now.
We'll be back to you next week. My name is Steve Gordon. You've been listening to CEOmanship Radio and TV on SoFloRadio.com. See you later.
You're listening to SoFloRadio.com.